Hey, my fabulous people. Guys, happy Friday. Happy Friday. TGIF. TGIF. It is Friday. I hope you all are having a great Friday. I am having a great Friday. I have had a great Friday so far, even though it's only like, what, 12 o'clock? I had to look at my clock real quick, but it's like noon now. So I am having a great Friday. Just came from the gym not too long ago. Y'all, I don't be playing. I do. You see this face? This is a serious face. I have been getting it in at the gym. I feel great. I feel renewed. I feel refreshed. If you all have not found time for yourself, or, y'all need to do something for yourself. I pray you are doing something for yourself that you enjoy, that you like, that giving you some me time, because I'm telling y'all, like I talked about in a video previously before about finding time for yourself. When my daughter go to school on that bus, I be lining right to the gym. I know that's all about me, but I want to know, it's Friday today, but how was you all's Valentine's Day? If you celebrated Valentine's Day, I don't know if you did, if you didn't, but I enjoyed mine. I got to spend time with my four favorite ladies. My mom, my daughter's grandmom, which I call my mom number two, my sister, and my daughter. Just four phenomenal women. And I treated them all like queens that they are, and special. So except for my daughter, she's a little princess. She don't get to be a queen yet. She's a princess. I'm the queen. But anyway, I pray that you all's day went well, and that it started well, and that it's going well, and that you all have been taking care of yourself, and that you always are staying fabulous, because that's what we are. We are fabulous people. So I decided I wanted to do this video before I actually ran my errands, because my daughter has a 2 hour early dismissal. No thanks. No thanks. But she has one. And so I said, let me go ahead and do the video now, because I have to talk to my favorite people. You parents, I got to find time for y'all, because it's always something I got to talk about. It's always something that I need to get off of my chest. So, you know, but she gets out 2 hours early. And guess what, guys? My baby is also about to be the big five. She's about to be 5 years old. 5 years old in about 2 weeks. So I'm gonna have a 5 year old. And like I said, as a parent, I ain't been doing this thing long. My baby's just going on 5, and it's been a interesting ride, but I do enjoy it. And so I just want to come on here and talk to you all real quick. Now this video may not be long, and I always say that, but you all know how that go. I say it, and then it's 40 minutes. Boom. But I'm hoping that it is, even if it's 40 minutes or shorter than 40 minutes, I always pray that there's something that you take away from it. And you always know what I have. I have my trusty booklet, and it's on this side today. Yeah, I have my trusty booklet. I see my camera be going in and out, but hopefully it'll stay like it's supposed to. But anyway, even though it's raining outside, I still have something to talk about. And you all can see out the window, it's a little gloomy, but you all know what I be doing. Smiling. All right, enough of that foolishness. But yes, I have my little booklet. And so if you see me looking over to my left, it's because I don't want to miss any of this good stuff I have to share with you all. So today's topic that I do want to talk about, it's something that I've been pondering on, something I think about, and I just want to tell you all, as parents, don't be so hard on yourself. That is the topic. And as you've seen in the beginning, our topic of discussion is called "Don't be so hard on yourself." Like I said, if I'm looking over to my left, it's only because I'm looking at what I wrote down, because I don't want to forget anything. The one thing that I have learned since I've become a parent is that I am my worst critic of me. I am my worst critic. I'm very harsh on myself. A lot of times I look at the things that I do, how I treat my daughter, and I say to myself, wow, I could have did this different. I could have did that better. Dang, I didn't have to say it like that. I could have did this. I could have did that. And it's like I'm always focusing on everything that I could have done better instead of looking at what I'm doing. And so I just want to tell you and encourage you all today on this rainy Friday, don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Being a parent, we, just like everybody, we were not given manuals. To me, being a parent is a learning experience. It's a day by day experience that we all have. We're not perfect. We're never going to be perfect. But we have to learn to give ourselves credit for what we do. And it's amazing how a lot of times we always highlight everything that is negative about how we did this, how we did that, what we could have done better. Okay, we can do things better, but sometimes that's all we focus on is the improvements we need to make. What about what we're doing that's working? And so I just wanted to come on here today to tell you all, and just like I say to myself, don't be so hard on yourself. Don't think that, oh, because I said it this way, that I'm going to damage my child. I'm going to ruin their self-esteem. Because as a parent, I always tell myself, I do not want to break my daughter's spirit. And I think that our tactics and how we do things, we do it because sometimes our delivery is not always the perfect delivery, but it's always in love. And sometimes it's because we love our children so much. And sometimes I get so frustrated with just repeating. Like I said, my daughter's young. Lily is 4. She's 4 going on 5. And like I said, I just have one child. I only have one. You all, there are parents on here that probably have children older than Lily. Your children have probably now reached into that teenage age. Like, I don't even know. That's like foreign to me right now because I can only imagine what you all have to deal with in the conversations that you have to have versus me having a child that's in not even elementary age yet. And now you got a high schooler or a middle schooler or you got an adult child. Because I think as parents, even our parents, think about sometimes your parent ever look back at you and sometimes they smile and they be like, I'm so proud of you. You know how your parents just tell you that? And they don't tell us about the struggle they had with us. My mom would tell me all the time, she was like, when I was a little girl, that because it was 6 of us, 3 girls, 3 boys. We were the Brady Bunch. And so I don't know if y'all ever watched that show, but it was the Brady Bunch had six kids, 3 girls and 3 boys. And so, excuse me. So my mom would always tell me a story about me, and she would tell me a story about how playful I was, but I was like extremely playful, and she was like I was like dangerous playful. Like she tells me one story about how when I was a little girl and it was somebody that came over and they was like, oh, that little one, she is cute right there. And my mother was like, you can play with anybody, any of them, just don't get this one started. And she's like, oh, but she's so cute. My mother was just like, okay. My mother said not even 5 minutes later, the lady was screaming for help. She was screaming for help, and she's like, come get her off me, come get her off of me. And I'm just like, we have to remember as parents that our kids are us. Oh my gosh. And when I think about my daughter being me, because she has this very extremeful, playful side. And when my mom had came to visit, because I spent um like my Valentine's Day with her, before Valentine's, like a pre-Valentine's Day, and my daughter was doing stuff. My mother's like, "That is you." And see, the whole time I'm thinking that's definitely her father's DNA. Like I'm trying to blame what she does on him, and she's like, "No." She's like, "That was you." I was like, she said, "It's different, because she's different. She's not me." But she's like, "No, but the playfulness that she does is you." And so I think as parents, a lot of times we want to make sure that we are enforcing certain things, and then we're making sure the kids are doing this and they're doing that and they're listening. And sometimes we sit back and we were like, dang, I'm like a drill sergeant. Like I'm sitting here, I'm holding my kids to this high standard. I'm doing too much. Why am I this way? Why am I being this person that just want my child to be perfect? Because I do have my moments where sometimes my standards are not realistic to my daughter. I expect her to already do things the way that I want her to do them, instead of me allowing her and giving her time to grow to that point. And so when I sit back sometimes and I look like, man, I don't give her no breathing room. I'm on her like this. You know, the snap. I'm on her. Everything she do. Don't do this. Don't do that. Stop that. Stop this. And the one thing that broke my heart one day, because sometimes we get in our own modes and our own mind frame, and sometimes I'm tired. You know, as a parent, we get tired. We do. We get tired. Our day is long. We're thinking about what we have to do. I told you I go to the gym. I'll be in there for an hour. Sometimes I'm cooking or running errands. When I sit down, it's time to get her off the bus. And I'm just like, I'm tired. I don't feel like it. I just want to sit down and close my eyes. And then she comes with all this extra. And I'm like, she's four, so her energy level, I mean, you know, as a 4 year old, they got all this rambunctious energy. And I'm sitting there like, I just want to rest my eyes for a minute. But mommy, then I start fussing. And I remember one day, it was this week when I was fussing, and the one thing that broke my heart, and this is where this came from, this topic of me just meditating on it. It broke my heart because when she sat there, and I think I was trying to get her to eat her dinner, because my daughter is that kid that when she eats, she sometimes she can get busy. She likes to get up. She likes to go do this, come back, and so her food is getting cold. Her plate is getting cold, and I'm like, Lily, you need to eat your food. You need to eat. And so sometimes my voice, even though I'm not yelling at her, I think it just gets so strong, and maybe it gets loud to her. So I remember we were sitting down, and I said, "You need to eat." And then all of a sudden, she just looked at me and she just had tears in her, like her little eyes started filling up with tears. And y'all seen the little mouth, the little. I was like, "Why are you crying, baby? Why are you crying?" And she was like, "Mommy, I don't want you to fuss. I don't want you to fuss at me." And I said, "Lily," because I do a lot of talking to her, and I'm like, "Well, baby," I said, "you have to eat." I said, "You have to eat." I said, "Your body needs hunger. Your body needs food." So I'm sitting there explaining this to her, but then while I'm sitting there, I'm beating myself up like, why am I sitting here just pounding and forcing? And I started feeling bad, and then I started highlighting everything that I'm doing about me. Well, maybe I need to try this different. Maybe I need to do this a different way. Maybe I need to kind of pull back on this. You know, I am being too hard. I need to calm down. I'm sitting here looking at everything that I'm doing that's affecting her based on this one, situation where she cried, where she had the tears in her eyes, and I just kind of had to talk to her about it. And I wanted her to know, no, mommy loves you. I don't want to hurt your feelings, because I don't want to hurt my daughter's feelings. Like I said, I'm that parent that don't want to break her spirit. I want her to be unapologetically who God created her to be. I don't want her to feel like, well, I got to walk on eggshells around my mom. I have to do this. I have to do that, because as a parent, I'm always going to be disciplining her. I'm always going to be correcting her. I believe as a parent, when our kids come to us, like I said, my daughter's 5. You may have children that are now older, and they're going to want to come to us and talk to us, and I want to have that type of relationship where my children have that liberty and that freedom, and they feel that I am a safe place to talk to, and they can come to me without me having to try to tell them, you need to do this, you need to do that, this and this. And I want that for her. And so a lot of times when situations like that enter in, I start beating myself up about me, about the things I do, how I treat her, how I parent her, because my ways aren't perfect. You know, your ways aren't perfect. And a lot of times we are raising our children based on how we were raised, because that's the only examples we have. And I don't just mean within our households. I'm talking about we have had grandparents, aunts, uncles, just anybody who was in our life who was part of our village. So a lot of our examples of what parents are and what they do and how we should raise our kids, sometimes we use those examples, and so it doesn't mean that every example is right. It doesn't mean that every example, we should use, because your child is specific for you. Something that worked for you when you were little, you may have to come a different way. But even with all of that and how we as parents parent our kids, we still have to give ourselves grace too. We still have to remember that I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. You and I have to give ourselves that room to be like, you know what? I'm going to lose my cool. I'm going to say things sometimes that are not pleasant. I'm going to hurt my kids' feelings, and I can't condemn myself as a parent because I said something. And it doesn't mean that I am doing things that's going to necessarily harm my child. Because that's what we do. We start looking at, because I'm going to tell you something I always tell myself. And I say it to myself sometimes, or not, if I don't say it outwardly, like just out loud sometimes I'll say it inwardly. And this is something I always say to me. I'm like, man, I'm a bad mom. I'm a bad mom. I'm like, man, probably shouldn't even have a child, you know? And it be real talk, because sometimes when I look at how I parent my daughter, and sometimes I look at everything that I'm doing, sometimes I'll be like, I'm going to screw this kid up. And these are some thoughts in my head that what I'm doing. And sometimes I look at her behaviors and things that she does, and I start formulating everything that I do, and I'm looking like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not good at this. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm just a bad mom. And that's something that I have struggled with, and sometimes I say it to myself, and sometimes I believe it, because when we say things like that, when we call ourselves bad moms, or when I don't know if you've ever said that, but this is me being honest. I tell myself that a lot. But I thank God for my sister, because it's just amazing how people are in your life. And sometimes when we talk, I told you my sister, she's with child, she's pregnant. And so a lot of times she'll tell me she's looking at me and she's learning from me. Some of the things that I do, she's like, you're really a phenomenal mom. You really do such a good job with Lily. But a lot of times as a parent, I don't see that, because I don't give myself credit for what I am doing. I don't give myself credit for the times when I didn't choose to just pick up, use the hand of doom, because I tell you, the hand of doom, when she needs it. But I don't always go that route with her. That's not something I always use as discipline. I like to talk to my daughter. I like her to understand, so that when she does something over and over again, until she gets it, because I'm learning as a parent, I'm going to be a parrot. Excuse me. I'm going to be a parrot. I'm going to repeat myself 100 times and say the same thing, and it's going to drive me up a wall. It's going to drive me up a wall, because I got to keep telling her the same thing over and over again. And so sometimes when I sit there and I think about how I have to keep repeating it, and she's doing the same thing over and over again, and sometimes my fuse, poof, it's just blown. Like, my mind is like, why? And then that's when the grr, that I'm frustrated, comes out, and why do I got to keep saying this? And I'm like, my expectation of her is here. And I'm like, why do I expect her to be here when she's here? And I'm like, this is me putting pressure on myself. And then that's when I start beating myself up, because I'm like, what am I doing? I'm losing control when I don't have to control everything. I've learned that there's just some space that she's going to need until she arrives to the point that she needs to be at. But I have to learn too, as a parent, I have to grow. I have to arrive. We have to grow and arrive. I'm probably not going to parent her the same way when she's 15 or 10 that I'm doing when she's 4 and when she's 5. Because just as they go through different stages of life, I believe that every time our child enters into a whole different phase, from the elementary phase to the middle school phase, until they become young adults, which is high school, until they become adults. I believe that in parenting, we have to enter different phases of parenting, because it's not going to stay the same. The things that I did at her, the disciplines that I'm doing for her now when she's 4, that's not going to work when she gets 10, and when she gets 15, and when she gets 18, and so on. It's like, parenting to me is a forever learning experience. It's no such thing as, well, I parented you like this when you was this age, so now that you're this old, I'm gonna have to do this too. And so that's why when it comes to when we are doing certain things, that we have to remember that there we have to learn. Look, blah, blah, blah. I told you when I lose my train of thought, we have to remember that we can't be so tough on ourselves because parenting is not easy. It's not a manual. It's not a how-to guide. And even if there were one, because everything does not work for every child. Children are who they are. They are unique. They are specific, and they are given to us to be who they are. And all we have to do is just train them up in the way they're supposed to go. And while we're doing that, we have to remember that we can't be tough and hard on ourselves when we say things or do things that aren't okay. Because we are going to say things that's not nice. I'm trying to tell you, we are going to hurt our children's feelings. We're going to do it. And not even that we're trying to intentionally do it, but we are going to say things to them at times and be like, man, why did I even say that? Did that come out right? It's not about the delivery all the time. It's just the love that we have. And sometimes as a parent, we get so frustrated that we get so upset that things just come out. And when they come out, sometimes we can't take them back. We can't take them back. And after we've already said it, then that's when it comes. And you hear those voices. Hey, you terrible. You know what? You're not a good parent. Nah, you need to look how this parent is doing with their kid. You need to look with this parent. Look how that kid is listening to their mom. This is what we start doing. We start looking at everybody else's examples and looking at, man, they such a wonderful kid. They such good parents. Because now we start beating ourselves up. This is what we do. This is what we honestly do. And what we have to learn is that we can't be hard on ourselves. We have to give ourselves credit. Because even though what you're seeing with another parent and another child, we don't know what it took for them to get to there. We don't know the battles that they have. In their mind as a parent, like, man, I got to get this together. We don't know what happened before they left out and now this kid is doing what they need to do. Because that can happen. You can be in there having World War VIII with your kid, and then all of a sudden, when you get in public, they're a different kid, and then you going, woo, woo, child. If you only knew what we was doing in this house or in this car, because there's times when we're in the house and even getting up in the morning sometimes, and I feel like I gotta fuss and fuss and fuss, and then I say something that's not right, or I say something, I'm like automatically I'm condemning myself. Oh man, I shouldn't have said it that way. You know what? Well, maybe at that time I needed to say it that way. Maybe at that time you needed to do it that way. Because if you think that as a parent you're always going to say things to your kids that are the sweetest and nicest with a smile, okay, honey, if you go ahead and do this, then mommy's gonna do that. No, because that is not real parenting. Because there are times they got to see every emotion that we possess. Have you all learned that? They're gonna see the happy, they're gonna see the angry, they're gonna look at the face that's confused, they're gonna see it all. But guess what? I want you to know that that's okay. I want you to know that you feeling like that, that's what we all are going through. And I don't want you to be so hard on yourself and feel like that because you're doing that and because you might feel like you're this fussy, this yelling, this parent that is losing their mind. Still don't be hard on yourself because we are forever learning. Because sometimes when their personalities change, because my daughter's, she is 4. I'm learning her personality. I'm seeing it. So I'm like, man, I'm going to tell you one thing about my daughter. She is she's very smart, very lovable, very affectionate, a sweet little girl. But my daughter also can be a little stubborn thing. And she can be a little mouthy, which drives me berserk. And a lot of times when she gets like that, it just brings out a whole different mommy. And I'll explain to her. And I told her something the other day. I said, Lily, I want you to repeat 2 things to me. I said, I want you to say, when I listen, mommy won't fuss. And I told her, she'll repeat it. When I listen, mommy won't fuss. And I said, when I close my mouth, mommy won't have to fuss. And so when my daughter, so I'm trying to get her to understand that this is the nice approach right now. But if you keep doing it, I promise you, mommy's not always going to come in the way that I just told you. Mommy's probably going to come in a whole different way and she's going to get upset and not like it. And so what happens is after we have had our whole I've had my whole way of coming at her that was not that pleasant way, that I feel some type of way because I'm like, I could have did better. But maybe at that time we can't. Maybe at the time that we act the way we acted, that's how they needed it. It doesn't make you a bad parent. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have had kids. It doesn't mean you're a bad mom, you're a bad dad, that you just are going to screw your kid up. Because let me tell you something. I want you to focus on what you have done right. I want you to focus and give yourself credit for the things that you see your child is coming into or is starting to now grasp. I want you to start looking at success in a whole different way. Because a lot of times, as parents, all we want our children to do is be successful. That's what we want. We want them to be successful to the point that it's like, wow, we want to say I'm proud of them. But a lot of times, what is our definition of success based off of? Some people look at success like, I want my kid to grow up, be well off, don't have to worry about money. Yes, that's all well and fine, and that's what every parent does want, but that's not what I just define success as. As a parent, success can't just be based off of them being able to handle this and that. No. I'm going to tell you what success is with me for my daughter. If my daughter's respectful, if she understands how she's supposed to speak to people, I look at that as being a success. That's something that I look at as success. Because we live in a world where you have to know how to engage with people. There are some people out here that have different personalities. And I want her to know how to protect herself. When I'm saying protect herself, because a lot of times if you come off to somebody the wrong way, because she's not going to be 4 and 5 forever, you can respond to somebody the wrong way and create a whole different situation that's unnecessary. So while she's not at this age, I'm trying to put in her the things that's going to help her be successful because I want her to be able to survive a world that will eat you alive. So as a parent, if I'm in the house and I'm always showing her rainbows and unicorns and telling her we live in this great, big, beautiful world, then I'm not preparing her to be successful. You can have all the money and get a house and have a nice car, but not know how to survive out there, not know how to be respectful, not know how to protect yourself from people taking advantage of you, not knowing how, it's just so many different things I look at as success when it comes to as a parent. And so I just want her to be successful so that when she gets out there on her own, she can survive. And not just because she has a good job or she has a great career. I want her to be successful as a person. I want her to know how to maneuver in a world that's cruel and that is not kind to you all the time. I want her to know how to pick good relationships. I want her to know how to come out of certain situations she shouldn't be in. See, as a parent, that is what I deem successful. And that's what I'm saying with your definition of what success is. Sometimes we probably got to look at it because we want to get our kids to go to college and do this and that. But at the end of the day, that's going to be great. But what if they get out here and they have no clue what the world is all about and what it's really like? I want her to be prepared to the degree where she can handle every situation that comes her way. That's success to me. So as a parent, think about the responsibility that we have on our shoulders. So guess what? Give yourself credit. Look at where your children are. Look at what your children are doing, what they have done, what they're succeeding in. Let me tell you something. Right now, if my daughter can go to school and I look at her note and it says she had an awesome day, that's success to me. Because she has not had great days in school. She be going to school giving them teachers the business. Do y'all hear me? The BUSINESS. Period. I was like, this kid is out of here. What in the world? So success to me, because when she gets home, I look at her book bag, open her book bag, be like, all right, Lily, all right. Yes, it said you had a good day. Lily had an awesome morning. That's success to me. And I'm going to stay on her. And if I got to say, look, because you ever notice that when you have a conversation with your daughter, or your son or your children. And sometimes, depending on how intense or important it is, it's like you want to have that conversation, but you want them to see the seriousness of it. And it's not always yelling, because yelling's not. I don't believe I have to yell, but do I? Yes, I do. Yeah. But sometimes when you have a conversation, it's just a certain parent that got to show up. When you're trying to be an encouraging parent, it's a different parent that shows up. When you're trying to be that parent that's trying to get your point across and let them know, it's that serious parent that shows up. When you are angry about a situation, oh, it's that fired up parent that shows up. It's like it's so many parts to us. And we have to understand that this is why we cannot be hard on ourselves. We can't be hard on ourselves. We can't think that we don't know what we're doing. We can't think that our way is not working. Because I'm gonna tell you something. I was not the best kid growing up. I think that I pushed a lot of limits. I ain't played too much with my dad. I don't know why we seem to want to play with our moms, but not even to the point where it's disrespectful. But there are certain things that I've learned as a kid that I would try to push the limits with my mom. I would never do with my dad. My dad could just look at me and I'd be like, oh, I ain't played with him. But when it came to my mom, I might have said something back to her. And my mother didn't play. She didn't play that either. She still didn't. And but with my dad, he just had to look. And I'm like, I ain't saying no, nah, I'm not even gonna formulate my mouth to even say what I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna swallow it up and walk away. And for some reason, that's what we've done. Like, I don't know why we always do that with our moms. And I'm like, I feel like my daughter does that with me. I just don't understand it. And she'll try both her parents, but for some reason, but she'll listen to me because she'd be like, oh, mommy's going to do her mommy thing. So I better sit down somewhere. And there's times when she will. It's not like my daughter does all kinds of things because kids are going to be kids. It doesn't matter how much you try to discipline them, how much you try to put in them. They're going to have their moments where they're going to be kids. They're going to do their stubbornness. They're going to tell you no. Oh my gosh. When she tells me no, it is on. It depends on what the no is for. But if it's a no and she knows she shouldn't have told me no, that's a trigger for me. Is that a trigger for y'all? Your kid telling you no? That's like the worst thing a kid can tell their parent is no. Unless it's a justified no, but her no's don't be justified. But anyway, it's enough of that one. But I just want to look over here and see, make sure I looked and covered everything I wanted to say because I want us to know to not condemn us. We are entitled to bad days. We are entitled to make mistakes. We are entitled to lose our cool. And you got to tell yourself that I'm entitled to that. You are pretty much like I think I said in the previous video, we are raising our kids from scratch. You know how nowadays, a lot of times when you go to the store and let's say you're trying to make a cake and you want to cheat and go to shortcut, so you get the box and then you try to add stuff to it to make it taste like it's a homemade cake, but it's not a homemade cake because when it's a homemade cake, they start from scratch. All the ingredients, they are putting each ingredient in there carefully. Well, guess what? Our daughters and our sons, we are putting everything in them one at a time. Respect. We want them to be kind. We want them to be caring. We want them to be safe. We want them. It's like we're taking our time and we are making sure that everything that they have, everything that they need for when they need it. And it's no way in the world that we're going to always be able to walk on eggshells when we address certain things of our children. We are not going to. And if you are a person that is not a parent yet, and like I said, because there are people who may watch this channel who are not parents yet, and you have contemplated having a child, just remember, even when you become a parent, you're still gonna have those moments where you battle within yourself and say to yourself, "I ain't do that. I should have did this different." No, there are some things that we can change as parents, but I'm just going to say, in that moment, when you say it a certain way, it may be necessary to say it a certain way. I mean, I'm not saying the delivery was perfect. I'm not saying that it wasn't okay because sometimes, as a parent, what I found myself doing to my daughter, if I said something and I knew that I was mean, or if I said something and I would say it out of frustration, and a lot of times, or not a lot of times, I won't say that, but sometimes when I say things to my daughter, it depends on if I'm already frustrated about something else or I'm trying in the middle of doing something, especially if I'm on the phone. If I'm on the phone, for some reason, my daughter starts doing all this silliness, and it drives me nuts. And so when I'm on the phone and she starts doing her foolishness, I be so frustrated. So when I fuss at her, it's that anger coming out. Instead of me just and I'll be like, let me put you on hold. And sometimes I don't put people on hold. I'm just fussing at her. And it's not the kindest thing. And so after a while, after I process, sometimes, depending on how and what she did, because delivery sometimes is not the nicest. Excuse me. So sometimes I will go back and I'll apologize. So I was like, Lily, I'm sorry. And I'll tell her, I said, Mommy's working on that. And I'll tell her, but this is what I need you to do. I said, Mommy shouldn't have said it like that. Mommy, sorry for using those words. Because we all have words we use that we shouldn't. And I'll tell her, Mommy, sorry. Mommy's working on that. I'm asking God to help me with my mouth. Because I need it. Because when you're angry, sometimes when things come out your mouth, they don't always come out correctly. And so that's what I apologize for. I don't apologize for the correcting her. I apologize for maybe something, the way that I may have said it. But I never tell her what I said to you I shouldn't have. No, Mommy shouldn't have said this word. Or Mommy shouldn't have said this. But I want you to understand what you need to do so that Mommy doesn't have to say that or she doesn't have to go that way. So, I just wanted to come on here today and it's 35 minutes. See, I said almost 40. You all know. You know how we get. You know how I get when we start talking. But I just want to encourage us because we don't give ourselves enough credit. We don't look at what our children are becoming or who they have become. And if you are a parent that has older children, I want you to look at your children. I want you to look at who they are, what they have become, and it's because of how you parented your child. That's why your child is who they are, because of you. Even with the good things, even with the bad things, they are who they are because of you. And when you look at your kids and you see, man, my child is respectful. Wow, look at what they doing. Like they genuinely are this kid that you look at like I was fussing and fussing and fussing, but look, they finally got it. And it's because as parents, what we did wasn't wrong. We did what the best thing that we knew to do. Because it's not easy raising children. It's not. This is probably going to be one of the toughest things we will ever do in life. And I want you to remember that being a parent is not simple. And it's not over once they turn 18. Once they move out, that's a whole different level. That's why I said as parents, we have to, our levels of being a parent, they change. They just change. Our styles change. Everything about it changes because our child changes. They enter into different stages of their life. And we, as long as we're here and as long as we have breath in our body, our number one concern is always going to be making sure that our child is successful. But that is only going to happen by you doing what you do. And I want you to know that it's okay. You are entitled to your days. You are entitled to lose your cool. You are entitled to say things that aren't always appropriate. But I also want you to know that you don't condemn yourself. You don't beat yourself. You're not a bad parent. You didn't make a mistake having kids. You didn't screw your child up. No, you didn't. You're doing a phenomenal job. And I just want you to tell yourself that. I want you to tell yourself and remind yourself of that over and over again. And there are times when, as parents, yes, we have to swallow our pride and we have to go apologize. We do. But you know, the one thing I want to say that I did do as a child, because I believe that this is a conversation that children do have with their parents as they get older. All the stuff that I did, and I mainly took my mother, I mainly, just when I started becoming a teenager, I mainly took my mother through a lot. Not through a lot, like I was this trouble bad kid, or not like that, but just to me, I kind of pushed the envelope a little bit. But when I got old enough, and it's a scripture that says that when I was a child, I spoke as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. I told you I love the Lord, so that's what I do. And so when I put away my childish things, I went to my mom and I told her and I sat down and I apologized to her. And I said, you know what, Mom? I apologize because for how I treated you, things I may have said, things that weren't right, because I was able to look back and see that there were some things that I did that I felt that as a child I needed to say that I was sorry for. And that's what I did. And I just remember when this Valentine's Day had passed, a pre-Valentine's Day, my mom, I had gave her a card, and it was one in the card I had made like a personal note to her. I had wrote her a personal note in her card, and I told her that a lot of times I told her I am an honest woman because of her. I remember telling her I am I know how to cook because of her. I told her that And a lot of times I have become her, and I thank her for her example that she gave me, because a lot of times when I look in the mirror, I see her reflection. And that just goes to show you that out of everything that our parents have done, or everything that you as a parent are doing with your child, or saying to your child, or putting inside your child, it's going to be that time when your child looks at you and says thank you, because you needed to be a little rough with me and say what you said, how you said it, because the one thing that you didn't take away from them was love. You gave them love. You gave them tough love. You gave them soft love. You gave them encouraging love. They got angry love. They got it all, because this is what we do as parents. And so I said all that to say, don't be so hard on yourself. Know that you are doing a good job. Give yourself that pat on your back, and you tell yourself, you know what? I am awesome. Start speaking those things to yourself. I'm amazing. I can do this. Will we always agree with the things that we do? Of course not. Will we sometimes feel bad when we say or do certain things? Of course we will. But what we're not going to do is always highlight what we're doing wrong. And we're going to start giving ourselves more credit for what we are doing right. Because your children and my baby will not be who they are now or who they are going to become if it was not for who we were and what we did for them. So I want you all to have a great Friday. I want you all to remember that you are awesome. I want you to know that being a parent is not easy, that this is something that we will always have to do. As long as our kids are here and they're breathing, and it's just a part of who we are, we're always going to be in parent mode. Always. So, thank you all for just listening to me. And I pray that this was something that you took away from you. And I pray that you're encouraged. I pray that you remember that the one thing we always have in common is children, because we're parents. And I just want you, if you have been struggling, or, just having difficulties, just forgiving yourself for what you may have said to your child, how you treated your child. And even if you have a relationship, and I will say this, I don't know why I'm saying it, but even if you have a relationship with your child that is not as close as you want it to be, or your child has drifted away as they've gotten older, it's never too late to repair it. It's never too late for you to reach out to that child and try to bridge that gap and get them back. Because sometimes it may take an apology. Sometimes, I would say as children, we don't always address some traumas or some things in our lives that we have experienced from our parents. And sometimes you have to be the one to go after them, so they'll be open and they'll be honest, and they'll just talk and say, well, Mom, Dad, I got to tell you, this is why I've been distant. This is why I don't feel close. This is why they may not think we love them. We never know why kids get old, and some kids are estranged from their parents because they're hurt. And I just think that sometimes we have to accept that, but we can't change the past. But we can always, while we're still living and breathing, we can always, and I say always, reach out and make sure that they know that we love them and that we are always here for them. So with that being said, I'm going to head on out here because I got to do some errands before my baby's bus comes. But I want you all to have an awesome day. And I pray that you were blessed by this. And I just want you all to stay fabulous, because we are fabulous. And we are always going to be. And with that being said, you all know what I'm going to tell you. I'll talk to you later.